Hey guys, how you doing? This is Travis P11. I'd like to welcome you back to the channel. Well guys, it's been about a year since I first took the Glock G43 to the range. The first time I took it out, I did not have the best luck with it. I couldn't seem to hit the broadside of a barn with it. I've since taken 2 defensive pistol courses. I shoot on a regular basis, and I do feel like my shooting has improved. If you're a fan of the channel, you might have watched my range test, which I recently posted, and if you did, we'll talk about how well I shot it this time around. First things first, this pistol is on loan to me from Stan, the owner of SS Pawn in Lexington, Nebraska. This pistol is part of Stan's private collection. And guys, SS Pawn has been a long-time supporter of the channel, so I'd really appreciate if you give them a call, and they will take care of all of your firearms needs. That's SS Pawn in Lexington, Nebraska. All right, let's just go ahead and get some of the details out about this gun. First things first, I'm not a Glock expert, okay? I can only give you kind of my hands-on feel and my experiences with this pistol when I took it to the range and ran about 150 rounds through, and just let you know how well it functioned, how it felt overall, what I think about it. I fired a lot of different pistols. So basic statistics on the Glock 43, what do you need to know? Well, the model is the 43. It isn't necessarily like a 3rd gen, 4th gen, 5th gen. It's kind of its own thing. It does have a flat pistol grip on it. It does not have any kind of finger grooves on it except for the pinky extension towards the bottom, more reminiscent of the 1st, 2nd, and 5th gen Glocks. It does have a 3.39 inch barrel. The overall length is 6.26 inches and the weight is 16.19 ounces dry. I can verify that. Capacity is 6+1. It does come with a flat base magazine, which I'll show you here in a little bit, and then also one with the finger extension. You can readily get finger extension magazine base plates all over the internet. As for whether or not it is single action or double action, I almost had to kind of do some research on this because some people say it's a single, some people say it's a double. The best description I could give you is that it is a semi-precocked striker-fired conglomeration, and that was one of the best descriptions I found over on some talk that was going on in the M14 forums, of all places. But overall, if you're familiar with the Glock layout, the Glock manual of arms, the way the Glock shoot and feel, you're already going to have a good feeling about how well these things can run. Kind of feels sort of like between like a 19 and a 42, just in terms of the size of G19 and a G42. First of all, let's go ahead and check and make sure that the firearm is unloaded. It is. Now, this firearm has not been cleaned since I got it back from the range, so it might be just a little bit dirty, and I know some of you guys freak out when we get handprints on the gun during tabletop reviews, but it's just something that happens. So we are clear. Okay, we're going to go ahead and dry fire, and we'll talk about the trigger here in a little bit. So what do you get in the box when you buy one of these things? Price-wise, I think I am seeing, it was about $458 over on Bud's Guns, about $550, $575 if you want the version with the Crimson Trace trigger. You know, the prices kind of vary wherever you go. Most of your Glocks tend to be between the $550 to $600 range, just depending on where you are and your markets. As for the magazines, again, we have a magazine that has the just the pinky extension on it. It doesn't have any kind of extra capacity or anything like that. We do have the flat base plate model. I did actually tend to shoot it a little bit better with the flat base plate model, but I did keep the finger extension on it for all my range testing, just because that would be more likely how I would carry it. I would want it to have as much stability as possible, yet when I had it with the flat base plate going on, I could tuck my pinky underneath of it and really get a good purchase on the gun. You do get your little speed loader with it. This is a Glock original, as well as a cleaning rod and just a brush to clean out the barrel. And a nice hard case, kind of typical of what you're going to find with a lot of your Glock firearms. So let's go ahead and get the case out of the way here. All right, so let's just talk about accuracy overall. Okay, how was it? How did it shoot for me? Well, if you look in the bottom left-hand corner, we're gonna go and give you a little bit of range footage here. Overall, I thought I shot it really well. The first time I took it to the range, it couldn't seem to hit the broadside of a barn, like I said before. And this time around, going all the way out to 20 yards, 60 feet, you know, we're talking the first time I fired this gun in a year using just standard bulk ammo. I was shooting Federal 115 grain brass ammo, as well as Remington UMC brass ammo, 115 grain. Really nothing to write home about. The accuracy was great. I would say I kept most of my shots within about a 4-inch cluster. I mean, I had some shots that were stacked over the top of each other. If I had to take a shot within 5 or 10 yards for self-defense, which is kind of my feeling about the intention of a pistol like this, I honestly think that I would have no trouble at all doing the type of shot that would be necessary to incapacitate an attacker. So overall, just a blast to shoot at the range. I had no trouble keeping my grip on it. I fired a variety of different targets when I was at the range, and not once did my hand really slip off of, or did I feel like I was not in control of the pistol itself. So Let's just go ahead and go maybe front to back, top to bottom. What do you need to know? Now, there is no tactical rail on the front of this pistol, so there is a Crimson Trace version you can get, and I don't know if that's melted into the frame or if it's an attachment accessory. I can't tell you, but it's out there. So if you want to go that route, you can. I've got medium-sized hands. I would say I get a pretty good grip on it. And if you're going to be wearing gloves, this might be a little small, might kind of flop out of your hands a bit. I can get a good enough grip on it if I need to. I can tuck that pinky up on there, which is really important. I can get a good two-hand grip on it if I have time to draw and pull, take a proper grip. You know, everybody kind of holds their pistols differently, but no trouble whatsoever. In terms of the, the fit and finish overall, it's just what you'd expect from a Glock. You've got what I consider high-quality polymer lower, which can take a lot of abuse. Again, I like all sorts of different brands. I'm not necessarily just a Glock fanboy, but it's overall I enjoy shooting a variety of pistols, and I think that's just kind of my opinion about it. Standard serrations on the back, very easy to rack. I tend to do a top charge. Had no trouble doing that when I would chamber the first round. You do not have an ambidextrous magazine release nor slide stop, but you can, I believe you can reverse the magazine release if you want to, like most of the other Glocks out there. I know I did that on my G17 for my wife, who's a lefty, and you can go that route if you want to. I'm sure there's a ton of accessories out there in terms of triggers, slide stop release buttons if you want something, just maybe a little more aggressive or a little bit easier to hold on to if you're the kind of person that likes to use that to charge a first round. I'm not saying you should, I'm just saying you can. You do have a pretty decent amount of space. I was not shooting with gloves, but I don't think it would be too much of an issue. We do have a little bit of a beaver tail on the back. It kind of reminds me of that overlay that you put on with the Glock G17, where it gives you that extended beaver tail, gives you that protection so you don't get any kind of a slide bite whatsoever. Recoil spray, it is a little stout. This might be kind of hard for somebody with weaker hands to charge, so keep that in mind. If you're the kind of person that does press checks, you can kind of just peek in there, although you don't have any kind of serrations on the front. The sights themselves are just your standard Glock polymer, nothing too crazy, nothing too fancy, no night sights. They do sell this gun with a variety of finishes and colors, and there are some special editions out there. Might be a version that comes with Glock night sights. I'm not 100% sure, but yeah, you might want to look and see what's out there. I know that there's a Talo edition that has the blacked out rear sights and a tritium front, which might make for a really nice self-defense setup because you can draw quickly and get fast target acquisition if you need to. The trigger itself, it's standard issue Glock. It's nothing too crazy. You pull for about little over maybe about a quarter inch or so, maybe a half inch, and you'll hit that wall, and then it's going to break. All right, reset on it. Again, no problems there. Let's try that. Goes out about not quite a half an inch, and then it will fire again without a magazine, so keep that in mind. Disassembly and cleaning, very simple. You just pull back a little bit, pull down on these two takedown little knobs or levers, whatever you're going to call them. You release, pull the trigger, and the slide is just going to come right off. So again, this is the Austrian-made version. They do make a American-made version too, which is made in Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. I think my G17 was also USA-made when I owned it. Overall, ergonomics, fit, feel, finish, again, very typical of what you find with the Glock. Recoil was completely manageable. Even though I did close to 150 rounds at the range, I did 100 rounds of Federal and close to 50 rounds of Remington UMC. Had no trouble at all. just an awesome gun. Very easy to put it on target. For the value for the money, you might be able to pick one of these up used, say maybe around the $400 range, $425. I wouldn't hesitate to buy one because I'm sure it can take a lot of use and abuse. Replacement parts are going to be readily available. No problems whatsoever. But overall, would I buy one? I'd consider it. When you're running 6+1, I do run a Car CT9 as my daily carry, and that's been a great pistol for me. It does have an extra 2 rounds. I believe it's 8+1 or maybe 7+1. So you're running 6+1 in this. With a spare magazine or an extended magazine, you should be able to basically handle most situations you might run into. Really isn't going to be much different than, say, carrying a revolver. You get a nice compact overall design. Width on this, I believe it's just a hair over 1 inch, and so it's not a very wide frame. It would be very, very easy to conceal. I know a lot of people like to appendix carry these. Pretty much, size-wise, I'm going to say it's almost on par with just kind of a Smith & Wesson Shield. Can't really tell you about the Shield 2.0s, but the original Shield, which I owned one, this feels about the same size. So I can't imagine it's going to be a whole lot different when it comes to carry. Because it's a Glock, you've got a ton of accessories out there for it you can get. I would imagine that there's probably some guide rod spring combos that have a laser light built into them. as well as, about as many holsters as a person could ever want to purchase in a lifetime. So the support's out there, the accessories are out there. If you're only going to get one concealed carry gun, I wouldn't shy away from this. The only thing I will say is you do need to practice with it to shoot it well. That's just my opinion. I look at how much training I've taken, and I look at how many firearms I've taken to the range. And it's just now I'm able to shoot a gun like this well, out of the box, first shots. Now, there's always going to be people that'll be crack shots with a gun right out of the box. They put it in, they're hitting bullseyes. I'm 40 years old, I've got average eyes, I'm not military trained. I think I shoot it okay for my kind of my given amount of experience. Okay, so overall, great little pistol, a lot of fun to shoot. So again, Stan, thank you for loaning me this pistol. I had a great time with it. I'm going to get it cleaned up and get it brought back to you. But overall, I've been very happy with it. Let's see, anything else? We've got some light stippling. It did not slip out of my hands, although this is not very aggressive. Some people might want to put some sort of a Hogue grip on it, maybe some Talon grips. So it's almost like that skateboard tape that's going to give you a little bit better planting in the hands. It is kind of slippery towards the rear. This is not a very aggressive finish or texture. It's not going to just plant itself into your hand. As a comparison to the car CT9, which does have a real aggressive checkering on the front, like the earlier versions of the Glocks too. So, overall, if you had to draw and fire, I really don't think you'd have a problem with it. I would recommend it as a concealed carry gun. It had no hiccups whatsoever, which is funny because when I was shooting Remington UMC through this, I had some feeding issues with my Smith & Wesson SD9 and my car CT9. I was not happy with this batch of Remington UMC ammo that I bought. And I know some people say it's garbage ammo or it's fine ammo, whatever. For me, it just didn't seem to run well through those guns, but the Glock had no trouble eating it up. I did not shoot any aluminum case ammo, although I have fired that through the G17, nor have I fired steel case ammo through this. I have fired some steel case through my G17 and it ran fine, so you should not have problems. But again, you want to find that right ammo combination that's going to work for you with this pistol so that you're most accurate with it, so that you're most comfortable with it. So just keep that in mind, right? So that's it, guys. That's my take on the Glock G43. It's been around for a while. I haven't heard any major complaints about it. I really don't think it had any issues when it first came out. If you pick one up used, you should be making a solid purchase. Overall, it held up well. It's easy to take apart. It's easy to clean. It's fairly lightweight. It's a nice all-around carry gun. There's a lot of other great guns out there, Rugers and Smith & Wessons and things like that you can go with. But if you don't know where to start, this is a good way to start. I do recommend, though, you maybe rent one, take one to a range. If you know a friend that has one, if you can legally borrow it, do. Put some rounds through it, get comfortable with it, because I did not have the best experience with it when I first got started. So again, if you want a little more concealability, you can put that flat base magazine in there and cut off about a ½ an inch there of space that it's going to take up in your pocket or printing. And so keep that in mind. So you're going to get your... I really can't tell you about the price of magazines. Not sure what they run if you need extras. They're probably in the $25 to $30 range, I'd imagine. And I'm not really sure if there's any aftermarket support. So there's a lot of things I can't tell you about the gun, but what I can tell you is it was fun to shoot. It was reliable. I just ran well. Overall, great little pistol. So there you have it, guys. All right, guys. Thanks for checking out the review today. If you like what you see, please like or subscribe. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. You can also follow me on gunchannels.com. And I'm starting to load up a few videos over there on GunTube. GunTube is a new thing that Night Strike from gunchannels.com is starting up. He's getting it going for those of us that are firearms creators to have a safe place to go to upload our videos where we don't have to worry about somebody taking them down because they don't like what they see. We're not breaking any laws. We're not doing anything wrong. We're just part of the gun culture that enjoys shooting, that enjoys self-preservation. And so do check us out on GunTube. I've got a channel over there. It's just called Travis P11. Like YouTube, and if my YouTube channel ever gets deleted or I get strikes on my account, whatever, you will find me over GunTube and gunchannels.com. So there you go. By the way, that is GunTube. It's either .net or .org. I'll put the link in the bottom of the video in the description box and you guys can check it out. So there you go. All right, guys, thanks for joining us today. I want you to have yourselves a great week, guys. I want you to have fun. I want you to be safe. And as you know, we will talk to you soon. All right, take care, guys. Bye-bye.